Yes. We are here. And we've actually been emerging upon the vehicle's energy field all morning in preparation for this. She's worried that she's going to be coughing throughout the session because she knows that her airways are still being healed, upgraded, and rejuvenated. She is saying, why does my body need to be upgraded and rejuvenated when supposedly we're supposed to be shifting and supposedly evolving out of this caterpillar chunky phase? And we are saying that while you're still here, you need to have the healed body to be able to have the confidence to speak freely. And when there is what we could say is old scar tissue, emotional scar tissue in the throat, as you have used your voices as forms of, as she has referred, we gave it to her, but she's used it, and that's fine. We don't coin phrases or copyright statements, but we are saying you've been using your words as weapons of mass destruction upon each other and upon yourself. And so you need to heal from that. You're still here. You still need to empower yourself. You still need to express. And while this is not truly a problem for her, she is transmuting and healing and being part of the 100 monkeys symptoms. What is that term? 100 monkey. She is part of the the monkeys that start off the trends of healing themselves. And when this ripple out effect and when this conscious collective awareness takes hold and impact, the ripple effects of others being able to know intuitively then that this is an eternal guide system that they can navigate through. It is like the conscious collectiveness of humanity is all is a form of a guide for each individual. And so you are able to connect into that consciousness for humanity as you are playing the role of a member of humanity. And so this is why advanced souls needed to come down and not get so distracted and bogged down through all problematic experiences. For those souls who have had many lifetimes here, they are much more weighed down because of their history, because of their challenges and traumas that still impact their soul's experience. Just because a chapter of one life is finished doesn't mean the soul's journey has. It's an ongoing series. And while there is different lives that you live, the series of that soul on earth is still playing out. We know we have distracted ourselves with expanding upon conversations you were even having earlier. And so we want to reassure the vehicle. We will open the airways, and she's noticing that now, and she feels glad because she doesn't like to cough. So you are welcome to ask us questions. We are here to be of service for you, but we want to say that this is not necessarily going to be a private session. And so be in mind. You can ask the private questions at the end of the session as such. We understand, and we understand that you understand what we are saying here.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Do appreciate you coming in and speaking with us. And am I speaking with the subconscious, or is it more than just the subconscious?
It is much more than the subconscious. This is a collective. And one of the questions is about Venus. And so this is the raw collective here. There is much collectives here. supporting, and while it sounds still like one voice, we are representing many. This is why she felt so discombobulated earlier and couldn't focus, because she was already merging her energy field in with us, and we were already merging our energy field in with her.
Okay, thank you. And again, I know that you are clearing the throat now, and if there's anything that is uncomfortable for her in her body, can you relieve her of that?
Mm. She does have an out of alignment structural balance in her skeletal system. And so we are just balancing that out. She wanted to know about the toe, the foot. And we're saying that's the end of the twist. So we're just aligning this now. It's just a series of tension of muscles around the sacrum that is pulling and contorting the body. And this reaches all the way down to her toes and all the way up to her shoulders. So this is something that we have adjusted now. And she can feel that we are working on releasing the tension. It's the left hip area, if you were trying to locate and label the area that we are working on. But it is minor, and we are happy to adjust it.
Thank you. And since we're still discussing the body, can we please do a body scan of her body? And is there anything else that you want her to know about her body right now?
Mm. Well, she is aware that the body has been feeling sluggish. She likes to feel more motivated and driven physically and energetically. And we are saying, you're never going to be a runner. And we know that this is going to amuse her. And we're saying, well, while we know she wants to be physically busy and get a lot of things done around her yard and her gardens and with the children over summer, we're still needing her to take a pace. If she uses her body too much, it pulls her into the body more. And she knows the relationship between the body and the soul. And she has to honor her first true purpose and mission here. And this is with her soul and the energy that the soul does. And so if she is trying to pull too much energy away from the soul into the body and to distract the soul's mission, we are giving her exactly what she needs. And she's saying, but I want more energy. And we are saying to her, we've just explained it. You have to understand the balance between the body and the soul's energy. And when you are just sitting and being, this is when we need you to be sitting and being. And she understands this now, but she really hoped that we could up her metabolic system. And we are saying we can do that, but that is also about her wanting to consume more food and not let it stay on the hips. So she is trying to adjust, having a well-balanced enjoyment of food without worrying about the weight. And we are saying she needs to remember the idyllic, normal beauty of the physical body. And it is not just one perception. And we want her to look back at the Renaissance age and the voluptuous curvature of woman was very fashionable and trendy. And so we're saying check your fashion, check your trends, and see if there is any belief systems that actually no longer serve you, as the body is a vehicle to the soul. And so there is much to be said about this, but we will help with the digestive systems to be able to process the food. Even though she has some interesting food choices at the moment, we do understand she is celebrating holidays with her family and wants to have fun and not feel guilty over certain food choices. And we're saying, have any food choice that you want, remembering guilt no longer serves you emotionally, and that can be more detrimental to the body and to the soul than the actual food. And so remember these things, because these are important. Your perceptions, the guilt that you want to lay upon yourself no longer serves you. Be responsible for all that you do using your free will. There is balance, obviously.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder about the guilt and how it can actually be worse than anything else.
Well, the guilt stays on the body longer than the meal. So you do the math with that.
Thank you. And I know we're speaking to many collectives, so thank you, collectives. And is there anything else you'd like to share with her about that?
About guilt sitting on the body, it doesn't look pretty. It does look very heavy. It does look very tiresome and weighs people down. And we're not talking about fat cells. We're talking energetically here. But she knows this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I think a lot of people, especially me, I totally understand where you're coming from. So a question that we have is about Venus, the planet. What's going on with that planet?
It thrived, it flourished, but it is no longer. And she is right. And that is not an option anymore. From your perspective, it is in the past. It's the planet evolved out of a physical planet and what you could call now a spaceship. You have an assumption. Humans are adorable. Humans assume that this size of a spaceship could be the size of a car or a plane. And we're saying they're bigger than your own planet Earth. And so when you have these assumptions of what a spaceship is, sure, there are smaller transporting vehicles, but planet experiences can actually be on board what you could call a ship. And so physically, they were on a planet and then they evolved, but it's like they were evacuated from that planet onto onboard ships. And they are in what you could say fifth dimension on ships versus third dimension on their planet. They haven't. It is like they came to Earth to see if they could evolve from the 3 to 5D this way. And you know the story with that. It hasn't occurred. And so it is where many have come from. It's interesting because she's wondering why there is a lack of information. But we're saying when people have regressions and see that they're on planets and they see green trees and blue skies, they have assumptions that this is Earth. But we're giving them the sense and impressing upon them that that experience is a physical planet. So their conscious mind can only relate that and correlate that to Earth. And so we're saying Venus had its own marvelous grand history, but it still needs to play out and heal, and the history books for that have been sealed, so you could say, and there is guardians of the information as a consciousness of those who lived on that planet. But that planet now is saying is having its own cleansing system cycle. So the occupants moved on board ships. This is where their natural evolution was taking them to.
Fascinating. Is there anything else you'd like to share about that?
You're not humanoid looking as such, and so there was different physical bodies there. We say it was more three-fingered. The vehicle doesn't label species, and so we can't have a reference point to translate this, but it could be generic and saying it is alien-like. The fingers are 3. They are long and they are elongated bodies, slender, bulbous heads. But there was not such tall ones, there were short ones as well. The way of life is quite different, but yet there were still communities, they were still working, and they were still trying to balance the planet in terms of water systems and air systems, and it didn't work out for them very well.
Okay. Well, thank you. Would you like me to move on to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is the difference or maybe similarities of Arcturians and Arcturians with an A?
Mm-hmm. The Arcturians are from the 5th to the no, that's Arcturians are from the 5th to the 7th. They're water-based planet beings. But so it's the Arcturians are more physical, but they're from the 5th to the 7th, whereas Arcturians with the A is less physical, but they are not on planets as such. They are overseen. You could say that they are on board advanced ships. There is a component. The vehicle has seen herself go onto a home planet that was through water portals where there are dolphins, and you merge into the water and to use that as a portal to get to go to other planets that you are guides to. They like it in that energy. It is not a very populated planet. It is a soul family that are there. This is helpful because they are able to do more things in terms of what you could call, and this is going to trigger people, shapeshift. It's only the advanced 5 to 7D physical beings that can shapeshift. This has been hijacked and disinformation. People have convinced that only reptilians can shapeshift. And we're saying if they could shapeshift, they would also be able to go to the new Earth. Humans are so afraid of reptilians that they give reptilians more advancements than they are even evolved to. But this is disinformation. This is ironically the reptilians feeding other starseeds disinformation, because they know that the other starseeds are vulnerable when they don't remember all the true facts of each collective's evolution.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to sorry, go ahead.
We were just wanting to know if there was other things we could clarify with this. Do you have more questions that we could support you with this?
I guess with the Arcturians with an A, for an example, because I'm trying to understand this a little bit better, like with like archangels and such, are you saying subconscious that the majority of them are actually in some kind of like they're overseeing in some ship right now for us?
It is hard to quantify. It's like saying you have different vehicles. You have right now a human vehicle, which is a meat suit, a 3D physical living body. Many can have Muka bodies, which is their own ships. And so they can shape and transform and travel. That way, the soul vehicle, they don't need the meat suits. In fact, you can't really do that. You have to merge out of the physical body to be able to shape shift back into your Merkaba body to go home or to travel to where you need to go to. And so that is for those beings who are in the 5th through the 7th. And then you have, it's almost like when you're in the 7th to 9th, you are more advanced and you are just a being, an energy being that doesn't need the form or the shape to be physical. There is just a body. It's a light body, but it is profoundly more bigger than, say, the energy field of a 5 to 7 dimensional being versus the energy field of a 3D being. And so it gets convoluted, but you can imagine the more higher in dimension you become, the larger your energy field and the less you need tools of physical bodies or even physical ships. So it's challenging to understand this from your perspective. We're trying to see how we could support you understanding this more. The question that you're going to be asking us soon is about Athena, the goddess, versus Athena, the Arcturian spaceship. And we are saying Athena herself, while she has been on Earth as a human, visually sensed as being human, her greater energy field, what she truly would be, is a larger ship. But when you have, it's like an energy being that can host other souls. And so the energy being becomes a vehicle within itself. And so the ship is really a living being having occupants as they are journeying. You could say an Arcturian is a minibus, and the passengers come to be within it. You could say that the ship is the Arcturian, but it is guiding. But there are physical ships as well, and they are more on the 3 to 7th dimension. They are not. There are ships that have support systems from the very basic souls that are trying to transition. I'm so confused because they have still got the impact on their souls for their earth experience. So when they are trying to acclimatize to remember their version of self without being tethered to the physical body, they're needing more support. That would be what you could classify as a ship that is being supported, but has a rudimentary fifth dimensional element to it. It is energy, frequency, and the souls can maintain it. But there is a difference between what the energy frequency of what is on those ships versus what's on, say, what you would know New Earth being. It is not like for like, because the ships, say, that are transporting those to the New Earth are smaller soul essences, being those minivans. We are struggling to find the right analogies to express this. But if you will, an advanced being can support and travel through time and space, supporting soul essences for that journey. And this is challenging because people want to assume that there is physical spaceships, like a bus in the sky, traveling around. And we're saying, yes, you can have those vehicles, those spaceships that you see in the movies, but there is also other spaceships that are actually soul essences that are able to support, just like you can support many soul essences in your physical bodies. We are concerned that we are confusing the concepts here that we're trying to express.
It's a big concept for us 3D people. I understand what you're explaining is, the higher beings that you are, the more advanced beings can support with being non-physical and having non-physical, I guess, locations that they're in. Is that correct? Or
yeah, we're saying that there is beings that are in the 5th to 7th dimension that can use their Merkaba bodies to support and transport others to go to other new places. And this is what and how many will be traveling to go to the new Earth, because they've been guided by higher dimensional beings. But we're saying for the Arcturians, they are bigger and they're not needing one Arcturian has got such an advanced energy field. They can transport many, but this is not necessary because they would be like the Ferraris needing to do a school trip. And so the 5th to 7th dimensional Merkaba body beings that are wanting to assist and help, they are. And that is the most appropriate use of their energy and their skill sets. And they are wanting to assist this way. It needs to be more physical in appearance for those who are adjusting to the transition of being evacuated from Earth to then move forward to a new planet.
And would we be able to assume that Merkaba would look like a spaceship that they'd project as a way to make the person feel like they're in a solid foundation?
Yes, indeed. And so it gets confusing when people are trying to understand the size of one soul. And so we are saying, and we did say earlier, that there are souls, the energy field frequencies is larger than Earth itself. And so it's very possible for this to occur. But when you're wanting tangible proof of spaceships with ETs running around with beams of light pretending to be clouds, this is a big leap for people's consciousness to be aware of more concepts than just tiny little vehicles in the sky pretending to be clouds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Seems like it makes sense now, but I definitely know I'm going to have to process this. So thank you.
We're trying to say, and we wanted to use this analogy before, but this would scare people. It is like we absorb your energy, nurture you, and then birth you, transform you, merge you out to another place. This is appropriate for those who are being absorbed back into their high versions of self. And so we know some of the people listening like to know that they are them singularly, and that they are just going to independently make their own way to the new earth and explore earth that way. If you have your main guides who are waiting to help you, assist you, they're collecting back their soul essences, reabsorbing the energy that they have shared out to be in physical 3D, to then be moved into the fifth dimensional experience. This can be triggering because you feel disconnected to your guide, your high dimensional version of self. We try to say in many sessions that you are a finger or a toe to the greater body of your soul essence. And so you are merely being lent out to have these experiences on earth, and the greater purpose, the greater connection that you have, your full aspect of self, your full soul, because you are multidimensional beings. You are an aspect of an advanced being in 3D. And so it is like we can't seem to have an appropriate analogy, but you can trust all this while, and you can trust you are being guided.
Yep. Thank you. My next question is about anything new you would like to share publicly about the Old Earth experience.
Well, we have much to say. It is all significant. And we like to see all of the variations of experiences for ourselves to have. This is a unique situation. And so, while it may seem traumatic or garish that we would want to experience these, we do want to experience extra challenges that could only occur on the end days of planets. This is helpful for our own personal research and experiences. We also need to be supporting ourselves while you may feel like you're an independent special unicorn, you have soul essence fragments that are still connected to the same higher self. And so you are finding each other to trigger each other to grow. And this is important because you have such familiar connections to each other that it takes you off guard, but it is the most appropriate way to trigger growth and opportunities of new experiences. So we are wanting to awaken and have an awareness. While we say all is well and all is fine and it's all experiences on earth, we still need and want a higher frequency to be able to absorb that higher frequency back. This feels parasitic. People are concerned that we are harvesting negatively our own essences back. But this is important. We share our energy and have independent experiences in the 3D. And we are wanting to gain experiences for those lessons, for the novelty factor of the challenges. But we also need to grow. And we know that we can't, it seems like, absorb you back in until you are ready or have had those experiences that are required to be more high frequency. And so each essence has its own puzzles to master. And as soon as they have mastered those puzzles, then they're instantly higher frequency to then be absorbed back, which you would call exit points.
Okay. That's very interesting. I mean, I understand why the frequency needs to go up for the higher frequencies to work. So subconscious, can I ask you something? Are you saying that sometimes they can exit, or is it more like that is the best case scenario for them at that point?
And when they've completed their puzzles of life experiences, the challenges that they wanted to experience and overcome, as soon as that's done, then they become immediately high frequency, which means they shift. And so they exit the bodies because there is no longer a requirement for them to keep continuing on with those experiences because they have mastered what you could call mastered the experiences.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
It gets convoluted because you may assume that you're all supposed to be here to live on earth, to retire, have grandchildren, and live long lives. And we're saying it's much more specific than that. The life contracts you assume it's big experiences that must be had, and we're saying it can be really small experiences that must be worked through, played out, overcome, and it's not full lives. So it gets convoluted quickly. We say many people are confused why there are so many exit points. And while people seem to have their whole lives ahead of them, and we are saying that's an assumption that they needed more earth experiences. Whatever the experiences that they needed to have were accomplished, succeeded, they graduated from those lessons, therefore they get to shift beyond. This is happening now. That's part of the shift. But wasn't necessarily the case. We're saying there is no dilly-dallying around. There's no souls here that aren't they don't have a mission and purpose ahead of them or that they're working through. So we're saying those people who feel like they've got no purpose and they've got no drive, or they've got no mission. Well, that's absolutely not the case at all. If they had completed everything they were supposed to complete, they would be gone. They would have moved on by now. Because all of the beings who are here are so dense, it is taking a toll of their higher versions of self. And so this is why there is much empowerment to grow, expand, have their lessons and experiences that were part of the life contracts. The life contracts are a very important thing. It is not a fickle change of choices. It's an agreement upon what we say Gaia and with all who are here on this earth. It's contractual. It is significant, and many, even though contracts can be extended upon, there are some who are so struggling. They just want to get the basic experiences required to play out the roles that they did with others in contracts. And as soon as that's done, they will shift. And it is not big achievements. It's not big goal sets that you would imagine to summarize and to highlight a human life. They can actually be very small. It can actually be certain things like just accepting love of self, or accepting and having forgiveness or gratitude. It's really not as complicated as you would assume. Probably know this is very triggering when we talk about exit points, because you all have this assumption that people should live long, healthy lives, and you are not aware of the life contracts that were required upon them.
Yeah. And also just how it explains just how immensely important it is with interactions, because you never know when someone's gonna leave.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Some people cannot leave until there is interactions of kindness and forgiveness and love and friendship. And so when you're avoiding people, it's like you are not allowing them to have that experience. So it you can delay people's growth and graduations because you are hiding and not wanting to react or to interact with each other in fear of the reaction.
Yeah, so true. Sorry. I don't know why, but this is really affecting me emotionally.
Would you like to pause the conversation so we can get your friend to comfort you?
You know, I'm fine. It's just it's kind of like this epiphany right now, just totally hit me. So, um, yeah, these sessions are they're just wow. But I can definitely continue with the next question. I just feel like this is going to be a process. I'm going to be processing this for quite a while. So thank you. Um, is there anything else you'd like to share about that subconscious, about that information?
The vehicle's body is crying because she can feel your pain. And she doesn't know what is happening.
I'm actually not sure either. Very interesting.
You are welcome to ask the next question, and we hope that this will give you more clarification.
Yes, thank you. Subconscious, is the book Mastering Old Earth still valid at this point?
Yes, it is, because people need to go through the emotional roller coaster that that book gives them to be able to see their triggering points and expressions, to be able to see if they are valuing and respectful and gratitude for the lives they have and the people that they have. This triggers them so deeply that they start caring and considering people that they have discarded, dismissed it, and rejected because they are not like for like in mindsets in current times. And so this is important to trigger many to have the range of emotions that they have been avoiding. When you ghost someone or cut someone out of your life, you don't want to think about them or consider them even being human. And so when you are worrying about future events of the end of life cycles, and you're worrying what's going to be happening to them, you're actually compassionately connecting in with them once again, even if you do not call them or contact them. And so at a conscious collective, the impact and compassion that is driven from understanding this information is significant. And even if the coming events are slightly different from what was reported in that timeline, it is still valuable because of the range of emotions. It triggers people into appreciating what they have dismissed, and they are appreciating life and the moments that they have when they feel like their lives are going to be taken away from them because they will shift. They suddenly value all that they do have. This is not a game where you're playing with your emotional roller coaster. We are preparing them for events to come. But it is a softer way of delivering this experience for those who want to prepare themselves emotionally for this, to be of service to support others who are going to be having a delayed reaction to the events when they unfold naturally.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about the Old Earth timeline or the experience?
It is unavoidable. You cannot wish or use your free will to change it. And many people think by arrogance or ignorance, this will somehow default that timeline. And that is ridiculous. Gaia's soul deserves more respect than that. But that is just the immaturity of a 3D mindset, not understanding their place in this world, on this world, within this world. The high dimensional beings are desperately trying to get attention, get the attention of their 3D counterparts to raise their frequency vibrations, to honor the experience, to have gratitude for the experience so you can then evolve and graduate from the experience. Many who are victim to the problems that they are creating for themselves are driving themselves into a deeper darkness of density that is moving them further away from their higher selves, therefore not being able to be absorbed back into their frequency.
And with that happening, are we able to assist with that? I know we've asked many times to assist them with being open to that.
Yes, and this is why there is many here that are in this session, because they are longing to be able to be reconnected to their 3D counterpart aspects, because they feel like they're missing a part of themselves. They've lent out the energy to be on Earth for this important time for Earth and for all who have lived on Earth, who are on Earth. And they are longing to be connected back so they can feel one within themselves. They can feel the deep suffering and struggling of their 3D experiences that their souls are having. This is impacting them at a harder rate. Advanced beings still get impacted by the density of the 3D because they are all one. We are all one. We are all connected in. We are saying some are like abscesses in the soul because they are digging in, burrowing into the density. It is keeping them separate, the illusion of separation. But the higher self is not ignoring or nor can ignore this density that is growing. In the aspects, you could say it is a tree. The higher self is the tree, the roots of the tree, and the tree trunk. And there is aspects of the tree and its branches that is being terminated out, eaten out, densified, funguses and density that is trying to corrode. And while that corrosion, while that infestation of negativity is only aware of itself, it is not responsible or aware or respectful of what it is doing to the entire body of the tree. The tree is fully aware of the density and the parts of the density of the choices that that 3D aspect of self is doing to itself. It is too much. And there are choices that get made by the higher self when there's too much toxic and there's no growth. That is when we say dead wood is cut to preserve the rest of the balance, to keep the rest of the tree in health and in balance. When there is determination from the 3D aspects to not grow and they are refusing, we see that some 3D counterparts severed themselves because they would not be open to the fact that we are all connected, that we are all one. And they have such strong, firm belief systems and they are entwined into density. And they have no interest at all in growing because they are victimized to their own mindsets.
Okay. Is there any way we could possibly, of course, without going against any kind of free will or life contracts, is there any way we can assist with healing or causing the 3D person mindset to heal any kind of thoughts or feelings of victimization from this lifetime and any other past lifetimes?
Yes, we want to send out profound reminders of love, that what it feels like to be their high versions of self. We're saying this isn't source, this is their higher selves. This is what you could call, it's not even their subconsciouses, because their subconscious is a lower version of self compared to the higher self. You are multi-dimensional beings, so it gets convoluted. We're trying to find the right way, but we are wanting to make the consciousnesses of the 3D aspects more recognizable, familiar, to remember the soul frequency aspect of being their full versions of self in terms of their higher selves aspect. And this is so comforting to them. It is like being back in the womb. Because it is so nurturing and you are completely absorbed in that frequency. And so we're wanting to impress upon all who are lost in density to remind them of this frequency. We want to use this request to push into their consciousnesses this comfort, this nurture, and this warmth energetically of their higher versions of self. It is still personable and relatable to them because it is still them. We say that when many people feel the source energy, it is not as personable, but the higher self is a better version of that because it is a signature frequency that is of their own. Whereas it is like a lost droplet of water in the ocean. The droplet of water is too scared to be in the ocean because they already feel lost. Why would they want to merge in? So they're afraid to merge into the ocean of water, which is what we're calling source right now. So when there is a puddle that is their higher selves, it's not as big and daunting as the source energy frequency. The puddle seems more familiar, so the droplet will jump into that and be merged back into that because that feels like it is not the biggest jump into the wild ocean. We're hoping that makes sense.
Yes, and it'll be very, very lovely for everyone to feel that way. So thank you. We definitely appreciate the support.
Yes, it is very convoluted, and the illusion of being in 3D in itself can confuse many, but the higher self knew that when they were sending aspects of themselves into the 3D, they would have to just allow, not be able to helicopter the 3D versions of self. And that can be very challenging because while you are still very deeply connected into all, you don't have much influence as much as you would like or hope. And so that is part of the beauty of the experiences of having these unique earth experiences. But as you can imagine, it becomes problematic when the 3D version of self becomes so completely disorientated and lost.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Would you like me to move on to the next question, or is there? Okay. The next question is, could you tell us how many are actually reading Mastering Human, the book, and how's it going for them?
Yeah, we're giving the vehicle the number and they are working through it. Some, as she suspected, are not the collectives that would be able to absorb it. So they can see the words, they can recognize the words, they can read the words, but it will not be absorbed into their consciousness. It's not for their collectives. And so this is just beyond them. It is a distraction for them. So it's challenging because they were expecting to have greater epiphanies and they just have this sense that this is not information for them. They could jump into conclusions about that, that they may not feel good enough, or they may feel that this is garbage information that is a distraction for humanity. However, they're trying to process or justify why it's not speaking to them directly. There is significance in that. And so we're saying for those who do empower themselves, because this is information for them, they will have a stronger sense and confidence of self because they truly have empowered themselves, because they realize that they all very much equal in this realm of 3D. And those people that they have put above themselves, they will realize that they are actually equal to them. And that makes them feel, while pressurized to step up, also makes them feel normal and important and loved and connected. This is all part of their empowerment.
Beautiful. Just curious, what is the current rippling out effect of those books right now?
Accountability, responsibility, empowerment, love.
Nice. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Mastering Human books?
We designed them and we're proud of them, and we wish that people could slow down and apply them, because the human mind wants to rush to get to the next chapter. Just like humans in general, they can't appreciate the now moment. And so we say, slow it down, read a chapter. Even a chapter is too much because it's so dense. Go with a paragraph. And for those who should be reading this, who should be absorbing this, who are a part of our collective, but they find it's too daunting, open the book at a page, and whatever jumps out, read and apply.
Very good advice. And I just want to say that I indeed had the same experience. It's a lot of information. And so, yes, it's if you feel called to only read a sentence or so, then that's what you're supposed to do at that time. So thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely. And don't worry and don't overthink it and don't overfeel it, because again, it is like what we were saying about the vehicle trying to be physical. And that's distracting her energy from what she's supposed to be focusing on. For some of you, you already intuitively know this and you just haven't accepted or empowered yourself with your confidence of self. And so some are trying to overwork and analyze the book without actually realizing they do this naturally, organically anyway. And so we would like to speak to everyone, independently, obviously, to explain to them how they're processing the information from the book. This is significant. This is not an we were hearing the vehicle talking about the book the other day and saying it is not a Mills and Boon book. It is a significant manual for empowering oneself. And so we are saying it is true. It's a manual. You need to focus on the information. But some of you have already mastered being human for so long, you are still thinking you need to do more. This is honorable, but we're saying there's so much. We can see some big egos thinking that that's them, and we are saying this is frustrating because we're seeing some big egos thinking they've already mastered it, and they haven't even started truly empowering themselves. And so this is why we would like to invite everyone to channel us themselves so we can tell them how they are and what they're doing with this information. Because again, we are seeing egos having much assumptions, and we would like to introduce them to the reality of our perspectives of what's going on for them.
Thank you. We do have another question about it's a different topic. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about this?
No.
Okay. So with this new topic, it's discussing if souls actually always leave the body when we're sleeping.
Souls can just step aside from the body. They don't necessarily travel always. And the souls are also just resting and just enjoying the energy of not being distracted by the physical body, so then they can spread out more energy frequency. And so it's not necessary that the souls do escape. This is when the souls actually get to heal their own bodies. and a high frequency focus on their lives, their homes, the energy fields. It's kind of when they do maintenance. So they're not often rushing away as you would think.
Okay. And then what is the significance of people snoring?
Hmm. We say some of it is to seek attention, to be heard. They're too shy to speak their truth during their days. So they will make noises at night to be feel like they are being noticed.
Uh, oh, wow.
It's almost like the body is crying for attention.
Mhm. That is new. That is definitely something I didn't ever think was going to be the answer. Oh, well, thank you. Is there anything you want to expand upon that?
Everything is significant and purposeful.
Indeed. Okay. Um, Subconscious and for all who are here, um, who would you like next for a public session?
There's so many. There isn't one that is requiring more attention than any others. They all have messages of love and empowerment. But we're saying and seeing we want people to focus more on empowering themselves to be their own influencers and their own leaders. And this is important. And when you can apply the information from Mastering Human, you will realize that you don't need to hear from past influencers or icons who are no longer on this living planet because they have their own valid messages. But you need to develop your own personal message for your life and you living and having diligence and responsibility for that.
Very valid. Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to share with us all?
You are so loved because you are us and we are you. When you don't value yourselves, you are effectively not valuing us. And this is why we need you all to love yourselves, because you are all one. We are all one. And when you are feeling so isolated and alone and you are ignoring us, this is an interesting choice that you're making because you're only surrounded in everything but love, is your perception. But in reality, you are only surrounded in love. It is a choice for you to see what is going on around you. And if your mindset is negative, you will only see negative. If your mindset is of gratitude and abundance of love and joy, that is what you will see. You see the people who are reactive and victim and hurt. And they don't realize they're doing this to themselves, and yet they're trying to hurt everyone else because of their choices and perspectives. Love of all is the fast way for inner peace, the fast way for acceptance. It's so easy. It's choices. There's nothing you actually need to do apart from accept all and love all and trust life contracts It's not a lottery. It's not a gimmick. It's not a riddle. It's not anything stupid or mundane. It is significantly purposeful, all life contracts. So when you ask and explore what you must be able to accomplish and what you're here for, you're getting the summary of the significance of why you are here. You can ask in sessions why others are here. You can ask in sessions what other life contracts are about. If you're struggling to understand the people you're living with, or your friends and family, your co-workers, neighbors, influencers, if you're struggling to understand their roles in this world, what they are playing, what their part is, if you cannot understand it and have acceptance, ask us. We want to help you with this because it is limiting you. We see when you don't understand or have the knowledge that you truly need and you're seeking, you can go into a big fuddle and trip over yourselves. Ask the significance and purpose of all for you to find your inner peace and balance.
Thank you. Thank you for that message. And we now ask if we can start asking the private questions, please.
We just want to say the density is already challenging enough. Why do you want to make it harder? And so it's choices and perceptions. You are an advanced souls, merely being 3D. Love yourselves and respect yourselves as the high versions that you are. You're all beloved. You're all special and significant. But when you play human and have insecurities and hurtful things to say about yourselves and others, this doesn't serve you.
Thank you. We do appreciate that. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we move on?
Beckle would like to cough, but to have some water and to wipe some tears.